My guest today is Shavitz, and Jeff is a very interesting guy. I had the pleasure of meeting him when I spoke to an organization called the Strategic Forum, and he was one of the members, and we got to know each other, and now we may be doing some business together. But he is amazing because he's got this mind that doesn't stop. And he went from being a big corporate America person to an entrepreneur and independent business owner. Following college, he worked as an investment banker at Lehman Brothers in the corporate finance mergers and acquisitions group. And he specialized in transactions from 250 million to 500 million and much more than that. And he was working 80 to 100 hours, but he still didn't feel vested in the deals he was making and what he wanted to do in his professional life. So he deferred business school and decided to leave his fast paced, well paying position to start up a one-person business. And friends would say, "What are you thinking?" And from his tiny New York apartment while still working on Wall Street, he created Spectaculars, which was a paper folding binocular, and in 1991 received an NFL license and sold 250,000 pairs distributed at Super Bowl 30. So welcome to entrepreneurship and welcome to you, Jeff.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Greatly appreciate it.
Oh, listen, I think it's amazing. I mean, because you've got more ideas running around in your head than most people have in their entire body. So since this is a program about living regret-free, why did you leave such an exciting career when it seemed you were on the fast track with a promotion and the bank didn't require you to attend business school?
I think fast forwarding now, I just hit 50. I sort of at that moment knew I wasn't passionate. And we had just sold Rockefeller Center in New York City, one of the most famous, real estate plays in the world. And everyone was celebrating, drinking champagne, and I got a Mont Blanc pen for about $100 that I lost subsequently. I just didn't feel empowered. And it was really at that moment when I said to myself, this is not for me. And I did defer business school. I spoke to my managing director and said, respectfully, I'm going to leave the bank. And, it was strange because all my friends did say to me, it was a hard decision to get out of college to be in the investment banking world. And I wanted to sort of experience life. And it's a tough decision. And I subsequently have written and spoken about aligning your purpose, passion, and career. And I respect all types of, occupations. And being an entrepreneur is not for everyone. Being a school teacher is not for everyone. And being a banker is not for everyone. But you really must find what works for you. And that's where I do feel very proud and not regretful of my career path.
And I know you have a favorite business quote. What is that?
My quote is, the harder you work, the luckier you become. I didn't think of it, so I don't know who thought of it. But when I was working at the bank, I was truly, for 3.5 years, I worked between 80 and 100 hours a week. And I probably slept there at least once a week. So I was never scared of the hard work. But I think too many people these days, especially the millennials, and I just had a conference through our YPO chapter last week, people don't want to work hard anymore. And things that come take effort. So that was one of the things I had made up in my office, just that quote I just mentioned.
Well, it's interesting, talk about millennials. One of the things that came up, I was listening to NPR, and they were talking about the fact that the iron workers are now recruiting women. The industrial plants are now recruiting women, going back to almost World War II, because the millennials, people are aging out of those jobs to begin with. And the millennials who are coming into the workforce don't want to do that kind of work anymore. They don't want to work that hard. So they're soliciting women, and the women are responding and doing a fabulous job. So you wrote a book, your first book, Size Doesn't Matter, Why Small Business is Big Business. What made you write that?
So when a couple of years ago, my daughter was applying to college, and she needed some help with a business essay for her application. I was a terrible writer. I mean, I barely got through English in high school and college, but I started helping her with her essay, and all these thoughts started coming out of my brain like, hey, I've had we all have our own story, and I really think everyone's story is quite interesting. But my story was going from this big, investment bank, World Bank, Lehman Brothers, to becoming this, small entrepreneur and growing a few businesses. I got fixated with the idea of writing a book. So for the next year, I was very disciplined. Once a week, I got up at 5 a.m. and I'd write for a couple hours. And after about 11 months, I had about 250 pages completed. And it really just shares my story of what I went through, but also other people's journey, both professionally and personally. And again, not saying corporate America is bad or good, just that I went from big to small. And subsequent to that book, I was very fortunate. The book hit #1 on Amazon in 3 business categories. But I did beg every person I know in the world to buy the book. So I'm not sure if it was a real #1. So,
well, but that's what it takes, Jeff. That's what it takes. It takes, going out and pursuing and getting people to buy what you want them to buy.
But what I did learn, this is just, I speak to a lot of authors, what I did learn is that Amazon only allows 1 IP address to buy 2 books. So even though my wife and my parents would have bought, 500 books, even if they did, only 2 books get credited through that computer IP address. So that's just good for some aspiring authors as they
that's mission. People to know.
But through that process, I've now written 6 books. I do have a publisher, and my new books are more thought-provoking. There are 140 thoughts on different parts of business. So from how to earn passive income to how to do networking to small business. But what I'm most proud of is I have a junior in high school who is on she's graduating. She'll be a senior next year. And my first one was very studious and, got straight A's and was captain of all her sports teams. My middle one, who I love dearly, doesn't have that brain power. And she was always comparing herself to her older sister. So I said, Lexi, you're as special, if not more special than Jen. Why don't we write a book? And the title ended up becoming Mom and Dad, I Promise I'll Get into College. And we did it together. And fortunately, I begged the same number of people as the first book. That book became a bestseller in the education category of Amazon. And now she and I go around Florida speaking to high school students who are graduating soon. We've spoken to underprivileged children in Fort Lauderdale who really would love to go to a vocational school or a public university. And it has really been an amazing experience. And what's been interesting is that now these colleges that she really couldn't aspire to because of her grades say, hey, wow, that's pretty cool that you're a best-selling author at 16 years old.
Well, it's interesting because I don't believe everybody needs to go to college. And it's funny, here I am with a doctoral degree, and I would have been just as happy not going to college because all I ever wanted to do was work. I went to college because my father gave me a choice. And way back then, he said, and of course, this is a long time ago, but he said, I've saved $5,000 and it's to send you to college, and you can either take it or go to college. And I said, well, I'll take the money. And he said, what are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to go to New York and study dancing. And he said, oh, no, you're not. And I said, oh, yes, I am. Well, anyway, to make a long story short, I did go to college because that was a way for me to get out. And I did study all the things that I wanted to, like broadcasting and theater and speech and all of that. But I do believe that, in this day and age, you can achieve a lot without going to school. So it's up to the individual. It still takes that hard work to make it successfully. But again, that's something that people have to decide. So do you believe that you need to love the industry you're in to be successful? Because you've been in so many.
I don't. And at first I did. So my girlfriend, now my wife of 25 years, used to work for the National Basketball Association. And I didn't care what she looked like or her personality. I love basketball and I wanted tickets for basketball games. So I ended up, proposing to her. That's a joke, Gail, I promise.
I know, I'm laughing here. I'm laughing.
But I do love sports, and I played basketball competitively. And when I was at Lehman Brothers, you mentioned in the intro, I had met a gentleman overseas who had invented like a million tchotchkes, all these different promotional items. One of them was a paper binocular. And I had the idea of putting a company logo on the product. So while working at Lehman, I got permission from my bosses. I ended up getting the NFL and a company called Breathe Right nasal strips to make a co-branded product. We had every seat at the game covered with my binoculars, and I had my little name on the inside flap with my home phone number in my little apartment. I started getting phone calls from Fortune 50 companies saying, we love this product, we've never seen it before. And because I love sports, I got into this sports binocular business in 1992, which then grew into a marketing promotional firm, which I then sold, and I'll tell you about my next chapter, after that. But what I think, when I look at businesses right now, yes, I did love sports, but I think business is business. It's the same principles. I think maybe sometimes the people are a little different in different industries in terms of the personalities. But I think too many people say, I love sports or I love, nature. I think if you're an entrepreneur, it's the same principles regardless. And that's why I feel that I'm, and many people are skilled to transfer those business opportunities from one to another.
Well, you also talk a lot about salesmanship. So is this a skill that you're born with, or is this one that you can learn?
I think there are definitely skills to, I think selling is a profession. I think too many people, like when I came out of college, I wanted to be, quote, an investment banker. I thought it was cool to work on Wall Street. I never thought about being a professional salesperson because it seemed at that stage in my life beneath me to be a salesman, especially a commission salesman. Now, having more experience, I give so much credit. At the core, I'm a salesperson, and that's what I really am. And I think, yes, I enjoy meeting people. I love meeting people. But there are many people that may not be as outgoing, but by working hard and using skills and systems, they can create a very significant and meaningful income stream by the sales profession. So I think there is a lot to learn. And I think too many people just try to wing it, and that's why they fail at it.
Well, I do think everybody is in the marketing business and everybody's in the sales business. I don't care what you are. I don't care who you are. You could be a doctor. You still have to sell your services, because there's a lot of doctors that people do not like. And there are a lot of people who, think it's just a profession that people go into because they want to make a lot of money. And that whole industry has changed, and doctors are not making a lot of money, and many of them are very unhappy. So your latest venture is Mastermind Plus. So tell us a little bit about that and some of the people that you're working with. And I guess I'm part of that group too.
I feel very honored by that comment. But what you said a few minutes ago about college, this is how I felt. Yes, I did go to college and I've taken other courses, but I feel that people want to learn special nuggets of information. And why not learn from experienced and successful people who I call thought leaders? So since selling my business a few years ago, I've been in the payment industry for many years. I always wanted to learn from the best of the best. So there's a term that I did not create, that Napoleon Hill actually created, called masterminds, where we get the best of the best in different verticals. So if it's on broadcasting, Dr. Gail Carson's the best of the best. If it's on selling, I've got a gentleman, a good friend, Jack Daly. If it's on entrepreneurship, maybe I'm the thought leader. And we get together 20 to 25 people, and we immerse ourselves for a couple of days, 3 times a year, twice a year, and then we have webinars, and we learn from each other. And by getting lots of type A people in a room and having a moderator like yourself, Gail, the amount of learning and actionable content that comes away is so powerful. And that's where I think sometimes college, and my kids will all go to college, but I really want my children and all my associates and myself to be around really, really type A, high achieving people. And that's what this Mastermind Plus concept is all about. We're going to get the best minds in the world, and then we're going to get incredible people to be around the room for a couple of days. And what comes out of it is so special. and it's only, you know, you and I have been in masterminds.